What is up, people? How are we getting on? It's been a while since I have been. It's been a while since I've been on the old YouTubes. If I'm being completely honest, this summer has not been the best of summers for training. It's probably been one of the worst summers in a while that I can actually remember in regards to how it's been from a progress point of view. I think in part due to some maybe defeatist mindsets. So, the last video, it was all about how I am sick of stagnating and, what I'm going to do to kind of rectify that, trajectory. Now, in between that video, there was a bit of time where I had maybe a couple of weeks before I went away to Ibiza. So I just went to Ibiza there with Emma for a week, proposed to Emma, got engaged, had a really good time, saw lots of cool DJs. But naturally enough, leading into that, because I kind of already fucked my training block, and since going to the festival at the very start of the summer, I just couldn't get a hold of training momentum, purely based on the fact that I was being a dickhead with my training. I was probably doing a little bit more accessory volume than I should. I was pushing my competition lifts harder than I should too early on the block. But now, summer's pretty much over, and I want to really turn this year around, because I feel like I've kind of very much just been kind of plateauing hard since the competition that I did in April. And even then, I wasn't really kind of setting a huge amount of training PBs because it's in wraps, because I was using deadlift bar. So last time I actually really made progress, I feel, was this time last year. So the rest of this year, I'm really making a big effort to, actually calm myself out and make sure that I make the most of the last few months. So I'm committing to hopping back on here weekly, documenting that process, documenting me making the sensible training decisions, and hopefully making some actual gains again, because I feel like everybody else that I'm following is surging past me, and I'm just staying in the same place, and it's not a great feeling, and it does make me kind of feel like a little bit of an imposter. But anyway, we were at the gym. So I've joined this gym. It's a powerlifting gym and a CrossFit gym, but there's a big powerlifting area, and one of the reasons I actually joined is so I can train our powerlifters again, because one thing I've definitely missed since leaving Canada is my training crew. I missed abs when I joined that. I missed abs when I left for Canada. I'm missing the Apex crew now that I'm in Spain, so I need to find a Spanish crew, because it does improve my own training. It helps keep me level-headed, makes me make better training decisions, and you're around people who have the same interests as you, which it does count for a lot, especially as you get older. You do really recognize the importance of the social connection. So tell you about deadlifts and bench, start of a new block. This is an intro week, my first week back following Ibiza, so it's going to be something pretty light, but it's setting the groundwork for the next few weeks of training. Okay, we are going to try something slightly different for this video. So I am doing not just a voiceover, but I'm also doing a video here, and hopefully this is going to be in the corner of your screen. If it works out, it's going to be great. If not, it won't be great, but at least you can still use the sound. Hopefully you can hear my nice crisp audio that is coming from this new microphone, a new addition to the setup, and it does make a big difference, as well as a nice professional webcam here, so it's a nice kind of clear picture. But anyway, getting into this training session, this is my fourth training session back after coming home from Ibiza. So I was in Ibiza for the first time. It was class. I suppose I should probably give you a little bit of an update as to what exactly we did when you were there. So the very first night, we flew in on the Wednesday night, went to Paradise, which is Jamie Jones's night in Amnesia. So it was himself, Nicole Madabir, Chris Stussy, Archie Hamilton. That was a savage night. It was really good, way to get off the plane straight to the nightclub and just have fun. Next day, went to Blue Marlin, which is a nice beach club, and it was a beach club. You just kind of lie there, get food brought to you, drinks brought to you. Beautiful, nice way to relax, but at the same time I didn't sleep a huge amount on the Wednesday night, so quite tired from That. Friday night, well, actually Friday day was actually quite interesting, because I proposed to Emma, and that was
Yeah, a big kind of life decision made there, right? So it was Emma's birthday, and with it being Emma's birthday, I was like, oh, like, I do want to get her obviously a really good gift, but this has been something that's been on my mind for a long time at this point. Of course, we've been together 6 years, and with that, I wanted to do it right, and I knew that to do it right, I would get her to pick the engagement ring, because at the end of the day, she's going to be wearing that shit for the rest of her life, and I want to ensure if I'm going to drop a couple of grand on a ring, that's something that she does really enjoy. So what we did was I booked our flights to Dubai and hotel in Dubai for her birthday, part one. And then part two of the present was to give her a promise ring. So we went down to Ibiza Old Town. When we went to Ibiza Old Town, I essentially just told her that she has two parts to her birthday present. She has, again, I told her she has the trip to Dubai, and then a very important decision to make, whether she wants to marry me. And then after a couple of minutes, she said yes, after a bit of disbelief. Then that night went out to High Ibiza, went to James Hype and David Guetta. David Guetta is not really my kind of music at all, to be honest, but we were going with Emma's coach and one of her friends. They were in Ibiza at the same time, so we went together, had a break for 2 days, and then we finished the trip off with Solomon in Pasha on a Sunday, and then Eric Preeds on the Monday night. So yeah, pretty heavy, pretty much 5 days drinking out of 7. So when I say that I felt pretty crappy across last week, yeah, that's it. It's not an understatement. So this is my 4th training session back. I had my initial training session after 2 days of just complete rest. So I got back on the Tuesday night, rested all day Wednesday. I needed to catch up on sleep because there wasn't a huge amount of sleep done in Ibiza. Naturally enough, partying a lot, and nightclubs not finishing until like 7 a.m. and it being extremely difficult to actually sleep during the day. So with that, had a lot of sleep to catch up on. So took Tuesday off, Wednesday off, got back to the gym on Thursday. Thursday was a pretty light session, and so was Friday. Sunday was like the first day which I kind of really started doing like kind of powerlifting training again, and then this Tuesday is my kind of first deadlift, my first proper deadlift session back. Now I am still taking this week as like an intro week, because as I've gotten older, going on trips like that really sets me back. Like drinking 5 days out of 7, that's something I could have done like when I was in my early 20s. I'm 30 now. I don't have the stamina, I don't have the recoverability. So even looking at my Oura ring scores at the moment, right? So it's Wednesday at the moment. My Oura ring scores at the moment, and I don't really use it Oura ring all that often to kind of track readiness, because it can be kind of off. But generally, it's quite consistent in saying that my readiness is like 85 to like low 90s, whereas at the moment, still like over 7 days later, my readiness is like kind of low 60s still. And it did take a while for my sleep to kind of recover too. And I'm also noticing that in just how I am performing in the gym and how I'm recovering. So I'm using this first proper week, so proper week of like Sunday to Friday, which is what my training week looks like, as just a way for me to kind of bridge the gap of being incredibly deconditioned to hopefully now, by the time my second week of my training cycle starts on Sunday, so that'll be a little bit better prepared. So this week, starting off with things that are going to be quite light. So if you went back to when I was talking about the proposal and stuff like that, and you seen that I did the 245 for 3, I felt kind of a little bit detrained doing that. That's the heaviest weight I've deadlifted in like 2 weeks, but it is week 1 at the same time. I know across these next few weeks, it will, like, this actual skill will improve. I know it's not a strength issue. I know it's definitely a skill thing, because as I've been going through my sets, things felt better, right? The likes of like the banded deadlifts, for example, they felt pretty nice. The weight at the top of those is probably around 242 with the actual 2 purple bands. The 2 purple bands, when you kind of reach the top, they're maybe adding about 40 to 50 kilos at the very top. And then with the likes of my bench press here, for example, I'm being very, very honest with myself with the lowest selections. I'm loading the weight that I need to load. I'm not loading the weight that I want. Bench is a lift which I think is because it's the lift which I am the worst at. I get self-conscious about, right? I don't know if other people can relate to this, but per my weight and per how long I've been training, I'm always like, I should be lifting this weight, right? And what I should be lifting versus what I am lifting is going to be different. And ultimately, one thing that I think has been a big limiter to my progress on the bench press has been this mindset. It's been the process. It's been the mindset of I can't go lower than 140 for a single. I can't go lower than 140 for 3 reps and like, or 4 reps and like I have to at points, right? So I'm starting off here really light, 140 for an easy single, and 125 kilos here for sets of 4, right? For reference, I've done like 120 for 10 reps. You know, I've done 140 for 6 reps. So, you know, these are definitely lower than like my top end strength, but I'm just not at my top end strength right now. And that's the point of like an intro week like now, as well as week 1, right? The goal for me is to lift the most weight at the end of a block or when I'm on the platform. At the first week, it's really a case of kind of start getting a good start point, you know, and allowing yourself to kind of build some momentum and having some room to move, right? If I can't reasonably say that I'm going to add, like I have room to maybe add 2.5 kilos at the very minimum week to week, I am probably redlining my intensity is too high. And that's one thing which has really kind of set me on the back foot across these last couple of weeks. As I mentioned, I feel like I've been like in a period of limbo with training in regards to both my ability to like pace my training block, as well as just even with like level of focus. Since summer, since I finished my diet, I went away to the festival with my friends. I felt like when I came back from the festival, I was very much expecting myself to be able to build on the momentum that I had from the previous block, where my squats were absolutely flying, but it wasn't the case. And that's probably been the worst block of training that I've had in a long time. So I had decreases in my squat, I had decreases in my bench, I had decreases in my deadlift too. And naturally enough, when this happens for multiple weeks in a row, it really affects me. Like I'm sure like there's people out there who would understand this, right? Like if your training's not going well, and it's a big source of enjoyment for you that you love going into the train, it definitely makes the process not as fun, not as engaging. Now I'm on bodybuilding stuff has gone well. It's still making improvements there, but just with how I was executing on my program for my squat bench deadlift, and some early weeks of overshooting and pushing the envelope too much, impacting my performance in those days, and now then not allowing me to have that like momentum built week to week, it did seriously like depress my ability to make any forward movement. So that's kind of a lesson for me for this block. It's kind of recognize that, you know what, sometimes I do need to take a little bit of load off the bar and humble myself, check my ego, and not load what I want, but load what I need to load for that given day, right? And the way I am trying to frame it to myself now as well, because I think it's one thing to like, you know, get into a rough period with like maybe overshooting your training and making bad training decisions, but I think one thing that probably affects how I see myself more is thinking that I am somebody who like I perceive myself to be somebody who, like, you know, I am good at following a plan, okay? Because from previous coaching experiences, I'm pretty good. Like my prep didn't slip up once. Well, I did slip up once, actually. That's a lie. I did slip up once, but I mentioned it to my coach, and it was the last time I slipped up again. But, you know, when it comes to like, you know, data tracking with my nutrition, my training, you know, on the fucking ball. Like, you know, I'll do whatever my coach asks me. Okay. Now, when it does come to the last while with John, especially across the summer, part of my plan, the same way I would assign macros to a client or calories to a client, and if they are constantly overeating, right, they are not following the plan that's given them, okay? The same way, if I am given an RPE target, or I give my clients an RPE target, and they're constantly overshooting, they're not following the plan. I'm not following the plan, right? So if I am constantly going to the gym and just loading up, I'm trying to see what's there, I'm pushing beyond, like, I get attached to a weight, right? So again, it could be like 220 on a squat, or 140 on the deadlift, or 250 on a deadlift, for example, right? Seeing these weights, I can't go below, because if I go below, it affects my self-worth or something, right? If I go below these, like, nothing bad is going to happen, of course, right? Like, they could be the training decision that I need to make on that day, but, you know, hitting, which happened in the last block, hitting 220 for a set of 5 at like RP 10, or even in one of the weeks I hit 220 for a single at an RP 10. You know, that feels way worse. That feels way worse than completing the right weight for the right amount of reps at the right RPE and being able to leave the gym and be like, I made a good decision that day. And anytime like I do leave the gym making smart decisions, I'm always like much more happy with how I'm going about things. And it's really just been something that I've, like, a bad habit I guess I've gotten into across these last couple of months. So yeah, here's to the end of that. Here's to growth, maturity, and becoming a good powerlifter, right? Because being a good powerlifter is not just about how much weight you can lift, it's about how well you can execute on the process. And a lot of the process in powerlifting is just that. It's just putting the right weight in the bar, lifting it for the right amount of times. And when you do that, like, the progressions come a lot more predictable. When it does come to chasing hypertrophy is a pretty fucking easy thing to come by, right? You push a muscle to its limit, you recover, and the next week hopefully you can have some type of overload in your training stimulus to cause a further adaptation again, right? Strength can be a little bit kind of more finicky, because it's not just about like your muscle making adaptation. It's about like your nervous system adapting. It's about like making sure that the skill is still intact and it's not like degrading, right? Like if you reach task failure, right, technical failure on your squat, and then the next rep looks completely different. It looks like a completely different rep altogether. Like, yeah, you have completed the actual kind of lift for sure, but if you start to ingrain that motor skill, that like breakdown pattern, and repeat, that is doing nothing for your long-term squat progression realistically. And then when the weights actually do start to get heavy, if you start to get into that position, is that the most optimal position for you to produce power from? Maybe not. Most of the time it's not. So strength does require a little bit more thought process, and I generally think to be a good powerlifter, it's harder to be a good powerlifter than it is to be a good bodybuilder, because look, lots of morons bodybuild. I hate to say it, but there's definitely going to be a higher degree of you need to be able to hold yourself back when it does come to powerlifting, because it's not always about pushing as hard as you can, whereas bodybuilding, it's rare to hear of bodybuilders talk about like holding back in training sessions. It's usually just like push to the limit. When you feel like you need to take a step back, then we'll take a deload, devolume. But other than that, we're pushing it to the house. But at the same time, you're recovering hard. Okay. Now, hopefully, no bodybuilders got offended there, but it's just my opinion, right? It's just my opinion. I do think powerlifting is harder than bodybuilding, because it is a much more specific thing that you're trying to increase over time. It's like 1 rep max on these specific lifts that needs to increase. Your programming needs to revolve around increasing those things, increasing the size of your arms, increasing the size of a delt. Like specifically, it's going to be, there's a lot less moving parts. You can decrease volume on other body parts. You can prioritize like different exercise selection strategies. There's lots of different it's easier as a result to increase muscle mass versus like reach the top ends of your strength. Now it's simple in theory. It's simple is what I'm trying to get at, but it's not easy. Like neither of them are easy, right? As you're getting closer to the top end of your potential, neither of them are going to be easy to get towards. So there we have it. First training session filmed for the YouTube, and it's looking like I'm going to compete in December. So this should be, I suppose, the start of this prep series. Not really like just doing prep series, but at the end of the day, people like watching a journey towards something, and it's a lot easier to, I definitely find it way easier to stay motivated when I have a competition or some goal to work towards. Like early on in the summer, it was great. After I had one competition out of the way, it was the fat loss phase. But then since the fat loss phase, I've just been kind of getting by, and I think that has been one thing that's just kind of led to a little bit of like lackluster execution, implementation of the program, and just like no real kind of like fire or anything like in my training. Like if you get me, like no real kind of like towards getting towards specific numbers. So now I am gonna
put my money where my mouth is, or not necessarily put my money where my mouth is, but like, you know, commit to a December competition. I think this one thing that's just gonna make me be a lot smarter with my training. So you will see in that training session there, nothing spectacular, no PBs, just week 1 stuff, putting in the work, practicing. And that's one thing I need to remember when I'm going through these training blocks, being in the competition. Today I need to be really hitting the big numbers. This is on competition day, but from now until then, the balance of training and practice. You'll see in the likes of my bench press there, the likes of my deadlifts, I was really just I was performing like I'm practicing a skill and trying to like improve my actual technique each set. So yeah, hopefully you did enjoy the voiceover. I wasn't really arsed using the actual microphone today. Just wanted to get in and out of the session because it is a Tuesday, a busy check-in day. So yeah, anyway, hopefully you did enjoy the video. Got something for the voiceover. I'll catch you in the next one.